All right, welcome back for another deep dive.
Always exciting to be back.
Today we're cracking open a true classic.
Yeah.
It's Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, a book that, let's face it, who has time to reread these days?
Right.
So we're gonna try to pull out the really core principles that make this book so impactful
Mhm.
and give you, the listener, some actionable takeaways, things you can use right away.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I'm excited to explore this one, because it's a book that can really change your perspective.
It really can.
Yeah.
It changes how you approach pretty much everything.
I like that, changing our perspective. And that's exactly where Covey starts.
Right.
He kind of dives right into this concept of paradigms.
Yeah.
And he uses a fascinating example.
Oh, yeah.
It's a visual example.
Mhm.
The famous optical illusion. Do you know the one?
Oh, yeah.
Old woman, young woman.
Absolutely.
Ever seen that one?
Of course. Yeah.
Some people, they see a young, stylish woman.
Right.
Other people see an older woman with a really big nose.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same image, but what we see is totally influenced by our preconceived notions.
Yeah. Yeah. What a brilliant way to kind of start the book.
Yeah, exactly.
It really illustrates, how our paradigms, those deeply ingrained assumptions we carry around,
Yeah.
they act like filters,
Right.
and they really shape how we see the world around us.
Okay.
That makes total sense.
Okay.
But the question is, how does this play into like effectiveness?
Yeah, that's a good question. How does seeing the old woman or the young woman,
Right, yeah.
how does that make me more effective?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
If we're operating from a limited or distorted paradigm, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're not seeing the world as it truly is.
Yeah.
We're seeing a version of reality that's filtered,
Yeah.
through our own biases and our own assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
And that can lead to all sorts of problems, honestly.
Yeah.
From miscommunication
Oh, yeah.
to poor decision making.
I can see that.
It can really mess things up.
So it's not just about seeing the world differently, it's about seeing it more accurately,
Exactly.
more in line with reality.
Covey's point is, we need to become aware of our paradigms.
Mm-hmm.
Like question them.
Yeah.
Question those assumptions.
Right.
The ones that might be holding us back.
Mm-hmm.
And that awareness, honestly, that's the first step towards becoming more effective.
Okay, so step 1 is realizing that the way we see things
Mm-hmm.
might not be the only way,
Mm-hmm.
might not even be the right way.
Exactly.
So then Covey contrasts 2 approaches to success.
Yeah.
The character ethic and the personality ethic.
Interesting, right?
He seems to be advocating pretty strongly for the character ethic.
I think he is, yeah.
What's the difference here?
He argues that lasting effectiveness, like the real deal, it's built on a foundation of character, like things like integrity,
Right.
honesty, fairness,
Mm-hmm.
humility,
Yeah.
These are timeless principles.
Mm-hmm.
The personality ethic, on the other hand, that focuses more on like techniques,
Okay.
outward appearances.
Okay, so like superficial stuff.
Yeah. Charm, manipulation, even deception.
Got it.
So he's really making a distinction there.
And he uses a really powerful quote from William George Jordan to drive this point home.
Oh, I love this quote.
Into the hands of every individual is given a marvelous power for good or evil, the silent, unconscious, unseen influence of his life. This is simply the constant radiation of what man really is, not what he pretends to be.
Wow.
Whoa.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But that quote, I think it really gets to the heart of it.
Yeah, it's about,
It's not about putting on a show
yeah, it's about, yeah.
or using tricks to get ahead.
Right,
Through
yeah.
effectiveness, it comes from aligning our actions with our deepest values and principles.
So it's about being authentic,
Yeah.
not just appearing successful.
Exactly. It's about building a life on, like substance
Yeah,
rather than superficiality.
right.
And this leads us to one of my favorite concepts from the book,
Okay, good.
the P/PC balance.
Mm-hmm.
Covey uses this memorable analogy,
Yeah.
the goose that laid the golden egg.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Remember that one?
I remember that one, yeah. Why don't you break that down for our listener?
Yeah, so imagine a goose, right,
Okay,
that lays golden eggs.
okay.
Those golden eggs, they represent the results.
Okay.
the results we want in life, the production, or P.
Okay.
But the goose itself,
Yeah.
that represents our production capability, or PC,
Got it.
the asset that produces the result.
So it's about focusing on both.
But exactly.
Not just the outcome, but the source.
Yeah, yeah.
But how does this apply in our lives?
Think about it this way, okay?
All right.
If we're constantly, like, focused on getting the golden eggs, we might neglect to care for the goose.
Oh, yeah.
We might overwork ourselves, burn out, or compromise our values
Yeah, yeah.
just to achieve those short-term gains.
He gives the example, it's a parent that's so obsessed with having a perfectly clean room that they neglect their child's emotional needs.
Right. Yeah. They're so focused on the golden egg,
Yeah.
spotless room,
Yeah.
that they damage the goose,
Yeah.
that relationship with their child.
Yeah.
And that's not effective in the long run.
It's like sacrificing long-term well-being
Yeah.
for a temporary win.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So Covey wants us to ask ourselves,
Yeah.
what are our golden eggs?
Right.
What are our geese?
Mhm.
Are we taking care of both?
Yeah.
Are we nurturing our relationships,
Yeah.
our health, our skills?
Yeah. The things that allow us to continue.
Things that allow us to continue producing
Yeah. Yeah.
the golden eggs
To keep laying those golden eggs.
in the long run. Yeah.
I'm seeing how all these pieces are starting to connect.
Right.
From examining our paradigms to building character to maintaining that PPC balance.
Mhm.
It's all about laying the groundwork for true effectiveness.
It really is. Yeah. It sets the stage.
Yeah, it sets the stage.
And that groundwork leads us to one of Covey's honestly most powerful concepts.
Okay.
It's proactivity.
Okay.
The idea that we are not simply products of our circumstances, but we have the power to choose our response.
I've heard that before, but I've always struggled with it.
Oh, I know. It's tough.
How much control do we really have?
Right.
Especially when faced with difficult situations.
Covey argues that, well, we can't always control what happens to us.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
We can always control how we respond.
Mm-hmm.
And he even shares this incredible story of Viktor Frankl,
Oh, yeah.
who found meaning in a concentration camp
Yeah.
by choosing his attitude,
Wow.
even in the face of unimaginable suffering.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, that's an extreme example,
Yeah, that is extreme.
but it illustrates the power of our mindset.
So it's not about, denying the reality
No.
of our challenges.
It's not about that.
It's about choosing how we face them,
Exactly.
how we respond.
Covey believes that recognizing our own agency, our ability to choose,
Mm-hmm.
it's crucial.
Yeah.
And he even gives us a practical tool
Oh, okay.
for putting this into practice.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Proactive language.
Proactive language. Okay.
So instead of saying, I have to do this, try
Yeah.
saying, I choose to do this.
It seems like a small shift,
It does, yeah.
but I guess it represents a fundamental change
Just huge.
in how we view our own power and
Mhm.
responsibility.
It really does.
That's interesting. I can see how that subtle change in language
Yeah.
can actually make a difference in how we approach things.
Totally.
It's like taking ownership
Mm-hmm.
rather than feeling like a victim of circumstance.
Exactly, yeah. Proactivity is all about recognizing,
Yeah.
we have more control than we often realize.
Right, right.
And it's about choosing to use that power
Okay.
to create the life we want.
I'm starting to see how this sets the stage for the rest of the habits.
Yeah, it does. It's the foundation.
If we want to be effective, we have to start by taking responsibility
Right.
for our own lives and choices.
Absolutely.
It's about becoming the authors of our own stories.
I love that. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that sense of ownership.
Yeah.
It's essential for the next habit,
Okay.
which is all about creating a vision
Mm-hmm.
for our lives and aligning our actions with that vision.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Begin with the End in Mind, and it involves a rather unique visualization exercise.
Okay, let's hear it.
Covey asks you to imagine attending your own funeral.
Whoa. That's a little intense, isn't it?
It is.
A little morbid
Yeah, a little
to
bit.
start off with.
But it's meant to be thought-provoking.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know? He wants you to listen to what people are saying about you.
Okay.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Mm.
What do you want people to remember you for?
I've always kind of avoided thinking about death.
It's not a fun topic.
Yeah, no. But I can see how how facing that ultimate endpoint
Yeah.
can help us define what truly matters in life.
Exactly.
That's
But
very-
starting with a clear picture,
Yeah.
of our desired end,
Yeah.
we can begin to shape our lives accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
It helps us define our values
Yeah.
and make choices that are aligned
Right.
with our deepest aspirations.
I can see how that would be powerful. You
Yeah.
know, it's like having a compass to guide our decisions
Exactly.
and our
It
actions.
keeps you on track.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of values,
Yeah.
Covey emphasizes the importance of having a personal mission statement.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about different centers that people build their lives around.
Mhm.
Spouse-centered,
Right.
money-centered, work-centered, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And he argues that the most stable and effective center is one based on principles.
Yes, he does.
So it's not saying that those other things aren't important,
Right.
but that our core should be grounded
Yeah.
in something deeper, more enduring.
Something more timeless.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, when our lives are centered around a particular person or possession,
Mm-hmm.
our sense of security and purpose,
Yeah.
it becomes dependent on that external factor.
Right.
But when we're centered around principles
Mm-hmm.
like honesty, integrity, service, love, we tap into a source of strength and guidance that's always available to us,
Yeah.
regardless of our circumstances.
So it's about having a stable core,
Yeah.
even when things are changing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Totally.
And that's why having a personal mission statement rooted in those principles,
Yeah.
it's so powerful.
Yeah.
It gives us a clear sense of purpose and direction,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps us make choices
Yeah.
that are consistent with our deepest values.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here already.
We have, yeah.
We've explored the power of paradigms,
Hmm.
the importance of character,
Hmm.
the PPC balance, proactivity, and the need to begin with the end in mind.
A lot of big ideas.
Yeah, and it feels like, we've laid a solid foundation
Mm-hmm.
for personal effectiveness.
Absolutely.
Oh,
We've explored the inner workings of effectiveness,
yeah.
the mindset and principles that set the stage
Yeah.
for meaningful action. But now, I think we need to shift gears a bit
Okay.
and explore how these principles translate into action.
Yeah, let's do that.
Starting with habit 3,
All right, I'm ready.
let's dive into habit 3.
Let's see how we can start putting all these principles into practice.
So habit 3, it's all about putting those first 2 habits into action.
Okay.
It's called put first things first.
Okay.
And it's where we really start tackling like the nitty-gritty of time management.
Okay, time management. Yeah, I think we can all relate to that. I'm always feeling like I'm trying to cram like 30 hours worth of stuff
Yeah.
into a 24-hour day.
It's tough.
So how does Covey approach this?
Well, he starts by challenging us to think differently about how we prioritize our time.
Okay.
He introduces this brilliant tool
Yeah.
called the time management matrix,
Okay.
which divides our tasks into 4 quadrants
Okay.
based on urgency and importance.
I've heard of this.
Yeah.
There's the urgent and important stuff.
Right.
And then there's the not urgent but important stuff and so on.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I've always found it a bit honestly confusing to apply in real life.
Oh, I know. It can be tricky.
Like how do you actually use this matrix to get things done?
It's all about recognizing where we tend to spend most of our time and energy.
Yeah.
Many of us, we get caught up in this whirlwind
Mm-hmm.
of quadrant I.
Okay.
Things that are both urgent and important,
Mm-hmm.
like crises,
Mm-hmm.
deadlines,
Yeah.
pressing problems.
Oh, I live in quadrant I.
But we all,
Yeah, it feels like I'm constantly putting out fires.
it's understandable.
Yeah.
But Covey argues that if we're always reacting to urgency,
Yeah.
we're never really getting ahead.
Right.
We're constantly being pulled in different directions.
Mm.
And it's easy to lose sight of the things that are truly important
Yeah.
for our long-term goals and well-being.
So how do we break free from the tyranny of the urgent?
That's where quadrant 2 comes in.
Okay.
These are the activities that are important but not urgent.
Yeah.
Things like planning,
Right.
relationship building, personal development,
Mhm.
preventative health care.
Okay. Yeah, I see the value in those things,
Right.
but they always seem to get pushed aside
Yeah, they do.
when the urgent stuff pops up.
And that's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
But Covey argues that quadrant 2 activities, Those are the key
Okay.
to true effectiveness.
So it's about being proactive rather than reactive.
Exactly. It's about investing time in the things that will ultimately make us more effective in all areas of our lives.
Yeah, it's like taking the time to sharpen the axe.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. It's about shifting our focus from putting out fires to preventing them in the first place.
And Covey even shares this great anecdote
Oh, yeah.
about learning to say no to good things
Yeah.
so that he could say yes to the best things. Such a good point.
You know, I really struggle with that.
Oh, I hear you. Me too.
I'm a people pleaser by nature,
Yeah.
and I hate saying no,
It's hard.
but I can see how, constantly saying yes can lead to overwhelm and burnout.
It definitely can. Yeah, it's a common struggle.
Yeah.
But Covey reminds us saying no to something doesn't mean we're being selfish or unkind.
Right.
It simply means we're prioritizing our time and energy, making sure we have the capacity
Yeah.
to fully commit to the things that are most important to us.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do we actually start putting this into practice?
Right. Good question.
How do we identify those quadrant 2 activities and make time for them?
Covey suggests starting by identifying our key roles
Okay.
and our long-term goals.
Okay.
So think about the different areas of your life,
Right.
Yeah. Personal life, your
Yeah.
professional life, your relationships, your health.
Yeah. What are your goals
Okay.
in each of these areas?
Okay. So
Yeah.
so once we have a clear sense of our goals,
Right.
how do we translate that into action?
He encourages us to schedule time for those quadrant 2 activities.
Okay.
Like actually block out time in our calendars
Right.
for things like planning, relationship building, personal development. And he emphasizes being consistent with this. It's not about doing it perfectly all the time.
Right. Right.
It's about making a conscious effort
Yeah.
to prioritize those important but not urgent activities.
Okay, that's really practical advice. It's about making a conscious decision to invest in the things that will ultimately lead to greater effectiveness and fulfillment.
And that brings us to a really interesting shift, I think,
Okay.
in Covey's framework.
Okay.
So far, the first 3 habits, they've been all about personal effectiveness, like mastering ourselves from the inside out.
Right. Yeah.
But now
yeah.
we're going to move into the realm of interdependence,
Okay.
of how we interact with others.
It sounds like a whole new level of complexity.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But Covey argues that true effectiveness
Yeah.
requires us to move beyond independence to interdependence.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we can achieve so much more
Yeah.
when we collaborate and work together.
I can see how that would be especially important in a work setting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it applies to all areas of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our relationships, our families,
Right.
our communities.
Yeah.
We're social creatures by nature.
Yeah.
And our ability to connect and collaborate with others is essential for well-being and success.
So how do we make that shift?
Right?
From independence to interdependence.
Yeah, where do we even begin?
Where do we begin?
That's where the next 3 habits come in.
Okay.
Habits 4, 5, and 6, which Covey calls the habits of public victory.
Habits of public victory. Okay.
These habits, they build on each other.
Okay.
They create this powerful framework for building strong, effective relationships.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Let's dive into these habits of public victory.
All right, let's do it.
And see how they can help us create more win-win situations in our lives.
It all starts with habit 4.
Okay.
Think win-win.
Think win-win. Okay.
This is about approaching our interactions with others
Yeah.
with a mindset of abundance
Okay.
rather than scarcity.
What do you mean by that?
It's about believing that there's enough for everyone.
Okay.
That one person's success doesn't have to come at the expense of another.
Right. Right.
It's about seeking solutions that are mutually beneficial,
Yeah.
where everyone feels good about the outcome.
So it's not about competition.
No.
It's about collaboration.
Exactly, yeah. And it requires a fundamental shift, I think, in our thinking.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing life as this zero-sum game,
Yeah.
where one person's gain is another person's loss, we start to see the possibilities
Yeah.
for creating these win-win situations
Right.
where everyone benefits.
I love that idea.
It's a good one.
But I have to admit, I sometimes struggle to see how that's possible.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Especially when there are, like, conflicting interests
Right.
or limited resources involved.
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
But Covey argues that it's often a matter of perspective,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it requires us to get creative,
Mm-hmm.
to think outside the box,
Yeah.
to challenge our assumptions
Right.
about what's possible.
So it's about being willing to explore
Mm-hmm.
different options
Yeah,
and to look for solutions that meet everyone's needs, not just our own.
exactly. And Covey even talks about having no deal as an option.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How can no deal be a win-win?
It's about recognizing that sometimes the best outcome
Yeah.
is to simply walk away.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
if you can't reach an agreement that benefits both parties,
Mm-hmm.
it's better to respectfully disengage
Okay.
than to force a solution that leaves someone feeling resentful or taken advantage of.
That's an interesting perspective.
It is, yeah.
It's about recognizing that sometimes the best way to win is to not play the game at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly liberating, honestly.
Yeah.
When we're not attached to getting our way,
Mm.
we're free to really listen
Yeah.
to the other person,
Right.
to understand their needs and their perspectives,
Mm.
and to explore creative solutions
Right.
that we might not have considered otherwise.
That leads perfectly into the next habit, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Seek first to understand,
Yes.
then to be understood.
You got it.
Yeah.
This habit is all about shifting our focus
Yeah.
from talking to listening. And not just passive listening,
Right.
but empathic listening,
Okay.
where we're really trying to see the world
Yeah.
through the other person's eyes.
Do you know, I've always considered myself a pretty good listener.
Oh, yeah, me too.
But I have to admit, I often catch myself thinking about what I'm going to say next
Right.
while the other person is still talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm just waiting for my turn to speak instead of really absorbing what they're saying.
It's a common trap.
Yeah.
Covey talks about how most of us, we listen with the intent to reply,
Mm-hmm.
not to understand.
Right.
And that creates all sorts of communication breakdowns.
Yeah, it does.
But when we genuinely seek to understand,
Mm-hmm.
we create a safe space
Yeah.
for open and honest dialogue.
So how do we do that?
Right.
How do we become better empathic listeners?
Covey, he breaks down different levels of listening,
Okay.
from ignoring to
Mm.
pretending
Okay.
to selective listening.
Yeah.
And then there's empathic listening,
Right.
which is like the highest form.
Right. Right.
He suggests practicing techniques like reflecting feelings,
Yeah.
rephrasing content,
Yeah.
just to make sure, you're not just hearing the words.
Right.
You're understanding the underlying emotions and the meaning.
He uses that great analogy about the optometrist.
Oh, yeah?
Who prescribes glasses
Right.
without first diagnosing the patient's vision problem.
It's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
It highlights how important it is
Yeah.
to truly understand the situation
Right.
before jumping to solutions.
Before you start prescribing solutions.
We need to diagnose before we prescribe.
Okay, so we've shifted our mindset to think win-win, and we're practicing empathic listening. What's next?
What's next?
In this journey toward public victory.
Habit 6 is where the magic happens.
Okay.
It's called synergize.
Synergize, okay.
Yeah. And it's about creating something greater
Okay.
than the sum of its parts.
Mm-hmm.
It's about embracing differences,
Yeah.
valuing diverse perspectives,
Yeah, okay.
and coming together to generate these creative solutions that none of us could have come up with on our own.
Synergy, it's that feeling when everything just clicks.
Yes.
You know? And the team is firing on all cylinders.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about recognizing that 1 + 1 can equal 3 or more.
Yeah.
Covey, he shares some amazing stories about synergistic experiences,
Mm-hmm.
like the time he co-created a curriculum with his students,
Mm-hmm.
and they ended up with something far more innovative and engaging
Right.
than he had originally planned.
That's a great example. It shows that synergy isn't just about brainstorming or coming up with new ideas.
Right.
It's about creating a culture of trust and openness.
Yeah.
Where people feel safe to express their ideas and to build on each other's contributions.
You got it. It's about valuing those differences and recognizing that each person
Yeah.
brings a unique perspective
Yeah.
and a set of strengths to the table.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
A lot, yeah.
From personal effectiveness to interdependence.
Right.
From think win-win to synergize.
Yeah.
It feels like we've been on quite a journey
We have.
with these first 6 habits.
A lot to unpack.
But there's one more habit to go.
There is,
Right.
and it's an important one.
Good.
It's the habit that helps us sustain all the other habits.
Okay.
The habit that keeps us sharp,
Mhm.
able to continue growing
Yeah.
and evolving.
Okay.
It's called sharpen the saw.
Okay. I'm curious.
Yeah.
What does sharpen the saw mean in this context?
It's about taking care of, honestly, our most important asset,
Yeah.
ourselves.
Okay.
And it's not just about, like, taking a vacation
Right.
or getting a massage.
Yeah.
It's about renewing ourselves in all 4 dimensions of our nature.
Yeah.
Physical, spiritual, mental,
Mm-hmm.
and social/emotional.
So it's a holistic approach to self-care.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Covey, he emphasizes the importance of exercise,
Mm-hmm.
of connecting with our spiritual sources,
Yeah.
of continuous learning
Okay.
and mental development,
Right.
and of building meaningful relationships.
It's about nourishing ourselves on every level.
Yes.
So that we can show up as our best selves
Yeah,
in every area of our life.
precisely. He even shares this powerful story about a man named Gordon
Okay.
who was suffering from burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Went to see a doctor.
Okay.
And the doctor, he gave him 4 prescriptions.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What were they?
The first was to spend time in nature.
Okay.
The second was to reconnect with his childhood joy.
Okay.
The third was to examine his motives. And the fourth was to let go of his worries.
Wow. Those are some interesting prescriptions.
Right. It's not your typical medical advice.
It's not what you would typically expect from a doctor.
Right, exactly.
But it's a beautiful illustration
It is, yeah.
of how we can renew ourselves in all aspects of our lives.
In all those different dimensions.
I love that story.
Autism.
It shows that self-renewal isn't just about, bubble baths and massages.
Right. It's deeper than that.
It's about connecting with our core values.
Yeah.
Finding joy in simple things
Mm-hmm.
and letting go of what's weighing us down.
Exactly. And Covey stresses that this renewal is not a luxury.
Right.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
It's about preserving
Yeah.
and enhancing
Mm.
our ability to live effectively.
Right.
Think of it this way. Just like a saw needs to be sharpened
Mm-hmm.
regularly
Yeah.
to function properly,
Right.
we need to take time
Yeah.
to renew ourselves
Mm-hmm. Right.
so that we can continue
Yeah.
to grow and contribute
Yeah.
at our highest level.
Okay, so we've gone through all 7 habits,
We have, yeah.
but how do they all fit together?
Right.
What's the big picture here?
They build on each other.
Okay.
They form this upward spiral of growth.
Okay.
It all starts with mastering ourselves,
Okay.
moving from dependence to independence through habits 1, 2, and 3.
But those are our private victories. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And once we have that solid foundation,
Yeah.
we can move on to public victories,
Okay.
building strong and effective relationships
Yeah.
through habits 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
And it all culminates in habit 7,
Mm-hmm.
where we continuously renew ourselves
Yeah.
to sustain and enhance our effectiveness.
It's like a virtuous cycle.
It is, yeah.
Each habit reinforces the others, creating this powerful momentum
Yeah.
for growth and positive change.
That's a great way to put it. And Covey, he leaves us with this powerful statement
Okay.
about the law of the harvest.
Mm-hmm.
We will always reap what we sow, no more, no less.
It's a reminder that true success, it's not a quick fix or a shortcut,
Right.
but it's the result of consistent effort and growth in
Yeah.
all areas of our lives.
Yeah.
It's about taking responsibility for our choices and actions.
Yeah.
And recognizing that the seeds we plant today will determine the harvest we reap tomorrow.
Precisely. It's a principle-centered approach to life,
Mm-hmm.
focused on continuous growth and improvement.
And he reminds us that this journey of growth is never truly over.
Ever.
There's always more to learn,
Yeah.
more to contribute, more to become.
That's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
It's not about arriving
Mm-hmm.
at some final destination.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the process of becoming.
Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive, what stood out to you most from Covey's work?
What struck me most wasn't actually one of the specific habits,
Okay.
but but the underlying principle of the space between stimulus and response.
Okay.
Covey, he talks about how our power lies in how we choose to use that space.
Whoa, I see what you mean. It's that moment of choice.
Yes.
That ability to pause
Yeah.
and decide how we're going to react.
Exactly.
That truly defines us.
Precisely. And that idea, it wasn't explicitly listed
Right.
as one of the 7 habits,
Yeah.
but it's woven
Mm-hmm.
throughout the entire book.
Yeah.
It's the foundation for proactivity,
Yeah.
for self-awareness,
Mm.
for making conscious choices
Yeah.
aligned with our values.
Right.
It's almost like this meta habit,
Okay.
the habit
Yeah.
behind all the other habits.
Mind blown. I never thought of it that way before.
It's a good one.
So what would you say then is the greatest habit of
Yeah,
all?
based on Covey's work,
Yeah.
perhaps the greatest habit is the continuous commitment to learning,
Yeah.
growing,
Mm.
and expanding our circle of influence.
Wait, what's the circle of influence?
It's a concept Covey uses to describe the areas of our lives
Mm.
where we can have a direct impact.
Okay.
It's about focusing our energy on the things we can control
right.
rather than worrying about things
Yeah.
that are outside of our control.
Okay. That makes sense. So the greatest habit is about recognizing that we're always a work in progress,
Hmm.
and that our potential for growth and contribution is limitless.
Beautifully said, yeah.
Yeah.
It's that ongoing journey
Mhm.
of self-discovery and self-mastery
Yeah.
that really sets highly effective people apart.
So, listener, as we wrap up this deep dive
Yeah.
into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People,
It's been a good one.
we encourage you to reflect on what resonated most with you.
As we're talking about this idea of continuous growth
Yeah.
and expanding our circle of influence,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me think about how interconnected these habits really are.
Yeah.
It's not just about mastering one or two, you know? It's about embracing the whole framework.
Yeah.
It's like a symphony orchestra.
Okay.
Each instrument plays its own unique part,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the synergy between them
Yeah.
that creates that beautiful music.
Right. Right.
The habits work together to create a harmonious whole,
Yeah.
a symphony of effectiveness, if you will.
Okay. I love that analogy.
It's a good one.
So let's say I'm listening to this and feeling inspired to become
Mhm.
more effective. Where should I start?
Right.
Which habit should I focus on first?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's something that Covey addresses in the book.
Mm-hmm.
He emphasizes that the habits build on each other,
Okay.
and that starting with the foundation of private victories,
Mm-hmm.
habits 1, 2, and 3
Right.
is essential.
So before we can effectively collaborate with others,
Mm-hmm.
we need to master ourselves first.
Yeah.
Get our own house in order.
It's about getting our own house in order.
Yeah.
Developing self-awareness, defining our values,
Right.
and taking responsibility for our choices.
Mm-hmm.
Once we have that solid foundation,
Yeah.
then we can move outward
Right.
to build strong relationships
Yeah.
and create win-win situations.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's like trying to build a house
Right.
on a shaky foundation.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be sustainable.
So once we've laid that foundation with
Yeah.
with the private victories,
Right.
how do we move into the public victory habits?
Covey suggests focusing on one habit at a time,
Okay.
mastering it before moving on to the next.
Mhm.
And he emphasizes the importance of patience and persistence.
Mhm.
These habits aren't quick fixes.
Right.
They're principles
Yeah.
that require ongoing effort and commitment.
So it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about continuous growth and improvement,
Mm-hmm.
about striving to become the best version of ourselves
Yeah.
day by day, interaction by interaction.
Okay. So for our listener who is feeling inspired to put these habits into practice, what's one concrete step they can take today? What's one small change they can make that will set them on the path towards greater effectiveness?
I would suggest starting with habit 1.
Okay.
Be proactive.
Be proactive. Okay.
Take a moment to reflect on on your current paradigms,
Mm-hmm.
your assumptions about the world
Yeah.
and your place in it.
Right, right.
Challenge those assumptions.
Mm.
Ask yourself, is this belief serving me?
Mm.
Is it helping me become more effective?
Yeah.
If not,
Uh,
consider shifting your perspective.
that's a great starting point.
Yeah.
It's about becoming aware of our own mental models and recognizing that we have the power to choose our response.
Right. And once you've started to shift your mindset toward
Yeah.
proactivity,
Mm.
you can begin to incorporate other habits
Mm-hmm.
into your daily life.
Yeah.
Start small.
Okay.
Choose one habit to focus on
Mm-hmm.
and practice it consistently.
Yeah.
Remember, small changes over time
Mm-hmm.
lead to big results.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about taking those small steps, those micro wins,
Yeah.
build momentum, and create lasting change.
Exactly.
So, listener, as we wrap up this deep dive into Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, we want to leave you with a sense of empowerment and possibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These principles are timeless and universal. They apply to everyone, regardless of your background, your circumstances,
Yeah.
or your goals.
Right. So take what resonates with you, put it into practice,
Yeah.
and watch as your life begins to transform.
It's amazing to see.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey of exploration and discovery.
Yes. Thank you.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of ideas that matter.